the villa so that we discuss all the issues that have been laid out today. So, our dear President, in fact, one of the other explanations that INEC will make to you is how we will win all the federal house seats in Ebonyi State. And we won the 3 Senate seats in Ebonyi State, and they said that you did not get 25%. APC won all the federal house seats, national chairman of the party. APC won all the federal house seats in Ebonyi State. We also won the 3 Senate seats in Ebonyi State. But in the final count for you, they said you didn't get 25%. So how did we win all those seats? And they gave out 350-something thousand votes to Labour Party, even though it did not help them. So I can't, but I sat down there, I was, my mind was saying that myself and the chairman of the Constitutional Review, Barao, must go back to discuss these papers. And I hope that our dear senior advocate of Nigeria, Olisa Abakoba, will give us a written paper. If you don't give us, we'll transcribe from what we have recorded here. But we would like a written paper to discuss. Because this is the kind of paper that will stimulate the mind of Professor Ozegome. Ozegome, stand up, let the president know you are here and you were listening. I thank you. So in reality, sir, we have achieved the essence of our meeting here. First, this is a national gathering. The president is here. The Speaker of the House is here. The national chairman of the party that requires explanation from INEC is sitting here. You do require explanation. Because I actually listen very well. Mr. President, in the legal terminology, what they were saying is that we should shift the burden of proof from the person who won the election to the person who conducted the election. Because in spite of all your losses, in spite of the fact that you won Ebonyi State hands down, I don't think they gave you 15%. That's the truth. In spite of all your efforts to turn around the economy of the Southwest, particularly Lagos, they said in the general election, conducted the same day, that you did not win Lagos. So that's what he was saying. I think that has worried a lot of legal minds, that they must explain to you whether somebody was intentionally trying to cheat you from becoming president of Nigeria, but God did not allow it. So, the Deputy Senate President, my brother, the Deputy Speaker, distinguished leaders of the National Assembly, whilst respecting the ministers and others and other protocols, I must pay tribute to my royal fathers who are here. From the Emir of Kano, to the Emir of Gazaure, to His Royal Highness the Sunupe, and even to the other highness, the minority leader of the Senate, who is sitting there, crossing his leg, Abba Moro. I hope you listen. This discussion and our takeaway from here is for us to go and implement. My distinguished colleagues and House of Reps members and all Nigerians. Well, sir, I had a paper to deliver, but when I saw the speech, extempo delivered by the very brilliant mind, Olisa Abakoba, I decided to drop my paper. So that it would not look as if I cannot also do the same. Because he said he's 70 and I'm 61. Who should remember more? So I'm the one that should remember more. National Security Advisor. And Mr. President, because I ran around the stadium, a packed stadium in Uyo, people started calling me and saying, are you planning to be president? I said, do you show intention to be president by running around a stadium? In fact, Mr. President, the Emir of Azara, my brother, who himself is a surgeon, He was there, and he was quarreling with somebody in front of my house. And I asked him, I said, look at this person. He's saying that the crowd was too much, that it looks like a presidential election. I said, a presidential campaign. I said, you don't need to quarrel, leave them. My people were expressing the love for good governance. And that is the way, anywhere you go to, Nigerians will rush. They will try to touch your clothes. Because that is the same way you are respected in Lagos and globally. The very first day that you took your steps into ECOWAS, in spite of the fact that the Anglophone countries are few, and then the Francophone countries are more, they collectively asked questions. Some of them were asking in French. Nous appelons Tinubu, Asiwaju. And many of them said, he is the one. I said, then if he's the one, let him be chairman of ECOWAS. We need change in West Africa. And you were confused. You became chairman. So I want to start by congratulating you for that. That you will take bold decisions to change Nigeria. There is no doubt about that. That the National Assembly is behind you. There is no doubt about that either. Let me be honest with you, sir. You are the first president under democracy to step out there and signify your interest and say, look, I believe this man is capable of doing that job. His Excellency Godswill Akpabio. And people started opposing. They were not opposing me. They know that I'm capable. But the mere fact that it was you who also said, I support, and the party said, I support, they said, no, we must oppose this man. But eventually, as usual, destiny cannot be changed. And so I won. And I ran straight to your office. It is not that the National Assembly is going to be an appendage of the executive. No. It is the fact that he is the first president to get it right. And he got it right in Lagos because they brought the best brains to work with him. And that is what Nigeria needs. The right people who can think. I thank my brother, when he was talking, he talked about the Federal Inland Revenue Service. And he said he spoke to his brother, Zach. He's talking about your new chairman, that you gave the opportunity, and we cleared in the Senate. That boy is very brilliant. He's going to deliver on the reformation we are talking about in the revenue sector in this country. We need the revenue to do all the things we are talking about now. Nobody has any doubt as to the integrity of your national security advisor. Nobody. Even when he was chairman of the FCC. So his presence here, and so far the calm that has returned, is evidence of the fact that, yes, indeed, you are also getting it right in that sector. There is no country you've been to that investors are not rushing to meet you. And some that couldn't see you in Saudi Arabia ended up in my office. I told them that I'm small p. You call me small p. Small president. I'm not president of Nigeria, please. He's there in the villa. They said we can't get to him. We are bringing 5.something billion. I said, no, it's too much for me. Dollars? And they said, yes. I said, I'll take you to him. So I'll bring many of them to you. I just want Nigerians to know that the renewed hope agenda is real. The renewed hope agenda is real. Where we are today was not caused by the present administration. We are talking about years of rot and misdirection of government. And even as we are seated in this hall, people are not aware of the quantum debt that you inherited, the deep hole that you inherited, because you've decided to keep quiet to see how you can do your best to fill it up to a level where you will now start achieving something. There with Nigeria, we are owing trillions and trillions of debts. I give you only one example of a parasata. I was Minister of Niger Delta, sir. The NDDC, under me, abandoned 1,400 and something projects. This one will start and stop. This one will start and stop. This one will start and stop. So when he mentioned that Nigeria has about 1,600 abandoned projects, it means that 1,400 are in the Niger Delta. That's the truth. And if you are talking about indebtedness, sir, they are owing 1.9 trillion to contractors. So when people bring papers and say, oh, I've not been able to get my money in 11 years, I say, how much? They said, I'm being owed 2 billion. I said, it is actually 1.9 trillion that we need to even clear. Nobody will remember you. It's too small. My uncle warned me and said, Godswill, if somebody slaps you while going to secondary school in Port Harcourt, slap the person back, don't leave it for God. Because on that day when we get to heaven, there will be so many things for God to judge that he may forget that somebody actually slapped you. So those who are being owed should know that Nigeria is in such the indebtedness in Nigeria is such that if you are being owed a small amount, don't go to the president, don't come to me, because we have enough debts to think of. So because of that, I became a tough boy. So if you slap me, I slap you back, because my uncle said, don't leave it for God, because I don't want that part to be forgotten when we get to paradise. So I want to thank the organizers for this colloquium, of course intended to rejig not just the memories of what we know already, that this government is a corrective government. I have already said the centerpiece of our legislative agenda, which my brother, the Speaker of the House, launched the other day, is nothing but people-centered. Ours is to think of the people of Nigeria that gave us this enormous responsibility and such a rare privilege for us to look into their affairs. I come from a traditional institution. When the white people came and they could not find emirs and obas in the southeast, combined then with south-south, they picked strong people who were administering their localities well. And my grandfather, the father of my father, Akpabio, was installed a warrant chief in 1901. He made sure that his domain, though he had these people wearing khaki up and down and all that, he had like a court, he used to sit in what they call NA, Native Authority, but he did very well, and there was peace. Even if a goat strayed from somebody's house, they would take the goat back to him in the evening. He would send the village on to drum around and ask somebody, are you missing your goats? But I know that by the time I got to secondary school, if somebody's goat should stray into Federal Government College, that goat, that goat will find his way into a pail in the bush, already being cooked as pepper soup. So the question is that Nigerians have somehow lost values. And they say in the computer, they say garbage in, garbage out. It is what we put in our children that they will display outside. So the degeneration of the ethos of the society is probably what led us to where we are today. But let's not talk much about corruption. In 1959, even when the colonial masters created Nigeria, the handing over note included the fact that one of the problems of Nigeria was corruption. In 1959, before independence. In 1959. So if somebody comes here to talk and says that government is not doing the right thing, government is corrupt, no, it started before independence, before Nigeria was born. But maybe I shouldn't talk much. His Royal Majesty Esunepe is shaking his head because he has an idea of what I'm saying. He must have seen the paper. You know, if we didn't meet like this, we will not raise a lot of issues. We've taken notes that we should unbundle INEC. I also believe that we should indeed revamp the Electoral Act. We've taken note that we should try to involve our traditional rulers in security, particularly in the governance of our various domains. We give so much respect to them, but we have not given them any piece of authority to administer. I think that's an area that we'll also look into. We've taken note of the fact that most of the colonial laws are still in existence by virtue of the constitution that was given to us. We've also taken note of the fact that even military edicts and decrees are still inside our laws. We will be working on those things. But my advice always to Nigerians is that in 1914, when Lord Lugard decided to amalgate the southern and northern protectorates to form what we call Niger area. Niger area, which we now abbreviate to Nigeria. Because I think that was what the wife was trying to say. The wife said, why don't you just name it Niger area? Because of River Niger. So other people who couldn't say Niger area now decided to call us Nigeria. He did not consult our traditional fathers. He did not consult Nigerians. And so, but I always try to advise that a child of rape should not allow the circumstances of his or her birth to mar her future. A child of rape should not allow the circumstances of his or her birth to mar her future. So what I have always tried to practice is the fact of true nationalism. The true aspect of imbibing the spirit of brotherhood across the river Niger, across even the river Benue. We must be our brothers' keepers. We must realize that there are problems on the ground. We cannot do blame game now. So when the lead speaker came, he went straight into what he says are solutions. But the solutions left a lot of gaps, which I would not want to. I'll meet him privately to explain. The aspect of bringing senior legal minds to be judges was recently discussed at the judges' conference, and it wasn't met with acclamation. They felt that most of the senior advocates of Nigeria are flying around Nigeria in their private jets, that they chose to go into money-making instead of going into the bench to give judgments. That how will somebody who is flying in the private jet come now to come and collect salary? That it may compound the problem of corruption in the judiciary. So I just want you to take it away. That even to fuel the private jet, to fly around after you have been appointed into the bench, that it may be a problem. Well, Mr. President, that's just what we shall discuss that at the National Assembly. Mr. Speaker, please note that. So maybe we can think of those who did not charge us too much during election matters. Because if you are used to collecting $1 million, $2 million from one person whose salary and emoluments in 4 years may not get up to 100 million, and you are charging him $1 million, that is in today's amount, that is 1.05 billion. Where will he get that money from? Then you now come into the judiciary, and then you realize that you are now going to be managing something in the region of maybe $1 million naira in a month, or if it's like my salary, yesterday I was told 511,000 naira a month, and Mr. President may not even earn up to 2 million naira. So the person will get dissatisfied because that amount cannot buy the fuel that he needs for his private jet. His life has to come down drastically. It may be like jumping from a 13-story building to the floor. They may not function well out of dissatisfaction. But we'll look at it and see how we can find some who have been charging us moderately whenever we call on them. So, Mr. President, he talked about economic governance, and I'm happy. But he mentioned something interesting, devolution of powers. I've always believed in that. There is need for us to look at the Constitution and devolve some powers to the states. And we also believe, I believe strongly too, that there is need for us to unbundle the federal government. That means if you're having 800 parastatals, we are more or less duplicating functions. There are some director generals and executive secretaries of certain parastatals who are far more important than the minister. In fact, if you go to function, people troop to the person. Okay, just compare me, Senate President, with my brother, Kiari, the GMD or so of NMPC now. Who would they look for outside more? Is it me or him? No, if we step out together, he's here. I'm sure he's here. Where is it? But you know, if we step out there, okay, we met at the ground floor reception in Hilton and in Transcorp before Mr. President came. You notice that over 7 people rushed to talk to you. Nobody talked to me. So even if I was a minister, or petroleum, not Senate president. Nobody will come near me because they've seen the man who is running a very lucrative parasata. So we will undo those things and see whether the ministers can begin to have authorities. Most of the problems they are going to have as presidents in the governance structure will be how to give respect to your ministers. Because some of them will push them aside into the gutter to run to the executive secretary of the other parasata who is actually delivering the goods. So there is need for us to rethink. And then, of course, we must teach the right education. In my small brief at the small observation in Angola, when I signified my interest to be an executive committee member, I pointed out to them that the last person who was there was Mwafo Rizu in 1964. They said, let's go for election. I knew it was a trap. Because the Francophone countries will immediately vote. How can you talk to somebody, how can you campaign with somebody who does not understand your language? Are you going to use sign language? So I said, okay, who is your candidate? They brought the speaker of Côte d'Ivoire. So I invited him aside. I said, as a speaker, I don't know what your ambitions in future are.